The Disappointment Podcast, Episode 1. I spent 6 years in medical school only to become a disappointment and not a medical or a healthcare professional. But I know a little about health issues, especially mental health, because I was involved in projects about mental health. I'm surrounded by people who are struggling with mental health problems, including myself. My name is Sang. I'm a professional disappointment. This podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to provide medical advice or any professional recommendation. If you know anyone who's struggling with any health issues, be it physical and or mental, please seek help from your nearest health clinics and hospitals. The first point I want to make here is that mental health problems have a lot of physical issues involved. It is not merely a disease of philosophical or moral injury, aka penyakit hati, inakuat iman, syaitan merasuk, and so on. Not to say that I deny the existence of shaitan, but humans scare me more. That's all I'm saying. Mental health sounds like something you pick out from the thin air. It doesn't seem to have any matter, merely a philosophical concept. But when you think about it, every perception, senses, thoughts, and emotions are a result of our reaction to the external world, with the brain as a key processing center. The brain is a physical organ and is made up of networks of cells communicating with each other using chemical and electrical signals. To say that mental component of our health is purely philosophical, I would argue that this would be inaccurate. In fact, there has been an increased awareness that the mind and body, the mental and physical, actually are one. They influence one another. They can't be taken apart, like the yin and yang, where everything is one organism. All philosophical concepts and theories are also the product of our attempt to understand the world around us. They are thoughts, and thoughts are generated in the brain. Because of this, when someone has a mental health problem, their emotions, thoughts, self-perception, and their perception of the world is affected. These qualities happen in the brain. Mental health problems are therefore as physical as diabetes and high blood pressure. Next, mental health problems affect our ability to function on a daily basis for a prolonged period of time. They are more than just stress. Just as diabetes affects the ability of our body to process sugars from the food we eat, mental illness affects our ability to think, feel, and see. And by seeing, I mean perceiving or the perception of ourselves and the world around us. When these abilities are severely impacted, they affect our daily functions like interacting with others, our energy level, our level of appetite, and so on. You may say, yes, when we are overwhelmed with stress in life, these daily functions can be affected. For instance, when you're so stressed an exam is coming near, you concoct worst case scenarios in your brain and how failing exams will make you a failure or a disappointment like me. This affects your sleep. You either not eat or eat so much like you've been fasting for 100 years. But after the exam, hopefully your stress level will decrease. And when you realize that you passed the exam, you're free of the stress, at least temporarily. You sleep better, you're able to eat with common sense, and start to think of where to go for vacation that is not Miri, KK, or KL. This is normal stress, and everyone will at some point experience it. Unless, of course, you're high on weed all the time. However, if your daily functions are affected, even if there are no persistent external factors, for instance, you have been having trouble sleeping for the past 6 months for no reason, you start seeing or hearing things out of the usual, you feel worthless and hopeless all the time. Medical school is really good at doing that. You have thoughts about hurting yourself or others. You isolate yourself and so on. These might be a sign that whatever is happening is not merely stress-related. Mental health problems are caused by both genetic and environmental factors. Stress is one of the major risk factors of ill health. We say that stress, along with other external factors such as childhood trauma, lifestyle habits like smoking, drinking alcohol, taking illicit drugs, certain medications even like steroids or thyroid medications, when you're sleepy, when you're hungry, when you're around your annoying siblings, when you have so much pressure to succeed, when you have financial issues, when you have past bullying issues. These are all environmental factors. Scientists like to talk about the nature versus nurture theory, a theory about the relationship between our genetic makeup and the environment we live in. A simple analogy to think would be of a gun. I know that's not a good idea, but bear with me. Genetic factors, or predisposition if you want to be fancy, is like loading a gun with bullets, while the environmental factors is like the finger that pulls the trigger. With a loaded gun and no finger to trigger it, the bullets will not fire. Every one of us has genetic predisposition to everything, including mental health issues. However, if we are not exposed to major environmental factors such as drugs, childhood trauma, or annoying siblings, the chances of us manifesting those illnesses will be less. Not to say there's no chance at all. There's always a chance, so good luck. Sometimes we don't even know why certain diseases or illness occur. Doctors like to call it idiopathic causes, probably because they make the doctors feel like an idiot for not knowing the causes. Mental health issues are increasing worldwide, including in Brunei, Darussalam. When I scroll through social media sites, I see more and more people talking about their mental health struggles. Some say they're depressed, others are anxious, the rest are stressed out because the inflation pushed $1 nasi katok to 1.5 now. This might sound funny, but believe me when I say that an increase in 50 cents to such staple food like nasi katok would throw some families out of the balance on top of having to live paycheck to paycheck every month. The world economy has been destroyed by COVID-19 and is yet to recover. No wonder people are depressed and anxious, not knowing if they'll have enough to feed their families. I see new cases of suicide, mostly people who immigrated to Brunei in the hopes of earning enough money for their loved ones back home. People like to call them foreigners, and others like to call them with horrible names. That's another topic to call or to talk about next time. I like to call them expats. These expats are our friend from neighboring countries who come to work their sweats off building our nation. Expats should not only be used to refer to some European dude. I know I sound like a right-wing fascist now, but hey, I'm a disappointment anyway, so let's move on. You can see that financial issues are a major environmental factor for mental health problems. Another term for such kind of diseases arising from social injustice is called diseases of despair. Well, what about those people who have more than enough to live a comfortable life? This is where the term first world problem comes in. A lot of people view first world problem as merely an excuse for minor inconveniences in life. While there's some truth to this, I think it has a deeper underlying meaning. And yes, it's probably physical related. Because our genes carry the potential for mental health problems, given the right environmental exposure, they can manifest. Therefore, you can say that mental illness is as old as time. Of course, people in the past are depressed, anxious, and those who acted strangely were called lunatics, aka orang gila. I don't know the exact numbers of those with mental health problems in ancient times, but I do know that for the past decade, the trend has been increased, with more people who are depressed and or a slave to anxious thoughts and compulsive, obsessive behaviors. So what has changed, you may ask? Well, lifestyle and expectation has changed. First world problems show us that almost all past physical inconvenience, like not having enough to eat, no proper clothing to warm the body, no decent roof over the head, no access to medical care, etc., all are now taken care of. Life is so good at the physical level that the slightest deviation from these comforts triggers such an intense emotional explosion. You can see people who are monsters behind the wheel. People who complain about everything, like too much ice in their bubble tea, or their favorite fried chicken franchise no longer serving that spicy chicken tenders. With access to an abundance of food, nice clothing, relatively useful medications, and anime, why are people not fulfilled mentally? Why are they still depressed and anxious? I think it is because they have less to worry about their external circumstances and all the time to think about their internal world. Well, this is getting too philosophical. Now I better stop here. I still want to be a disappointment. Because food, especially those unhealthy ones, are easy to get. Literally, you can have them sent to your house within 15 minutes. We therefore eat less mindfully. Well, I'm a positive person, so I think that we are perhaps unconsciously buying express tickets to Jannah. When food reaches our doorstep, we take them and indulge as a family in front of perhaps a tablet device playing our favorite web series. We take in almost 2,000 calories per day and only burn less than 1/4 of it. As a result, we gain weight. Our gut microbiome, or the bacteria in our gut, become unbalanced because we don't get enough fibers. Our digestive system is closely linked to our mental health. The bottom line is, we eat crap, we feel like crap. We eat more crap, we feel crappier. And finally, crap never leaves and we become crap.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed
This is
is not
also
in
too
service at this
philosophical
time.
now. Worse still, the only few body parts that we are moving nowadays is our thumb. When scrolling through social media whilst mentally comparing ourselves to the ones we see on the platform and doubting our life because it does not look so glamorous as compared to the others. Let me tell you something. Their life ain't glamorous as well, so you can put your mind at ease on that. With only your thumbs moving, other bones and muscles in your body do not have a chance to fulfill their role, which is to provide locomotion. or in other words, to get your body out from the sofa and into the gym. As a result, you gain more weight. You then start to doubt your own beauty as compared to widely accepted standards of beauty. Tall, dark, handsome for men, slim, glowing, and fierce for women. Might as well tie a light bulb around your head to provide 24/7 glow. You can see how lifestyle changes our expectations and vice versa. Ruminations of our thoughts and ideas about how inferior, imperfect, unworthy we compared to our expectations of the world will breed mental health problems. I can talk hours about how the world can overcome a man, but I'll leave it for next time. So what can we do to address mental health problems, you ask? First, I want you to pay attention to the phrase, what we can do. This is the most important truth I think everyone should keep in mind as the first step to reduce the burden of our mental health struggles. In real life, there are things we can and cannot do. There are things we can and cannot control. We cannot control what other people think, say, and expect from us, but we can control our response, words, and actions based on what we believe is best for us. We cannot know other people's thoughts, but we can know our own thoughts. This is called awareness, which is a component of mindfulness. Psychologists are familiar with the concept of cognitive distortions. These are unhelpful thoughts that arise in everyone. Example would be the all or nothing thinking. Things like, if you fail this exam, then you're a total failure. If you don't have a house, a car, and a wife by the age of 30, you're not worthy of being a man. If you don't weigh 45 kg, then you're an ugly and beyond any hope for a true love. This first step is to recognize them as errors of our thoughts and challenge them. A counselor or a psychologist will be able to advise you on the techniques of dealing with these cognitive distortions. Next, we can also perhaps modify our lifestyle and expectations. Well, I'm sure that you've been told by almost every doctor you've seen. The real question is how to make lifestyle habits stick. The answer is to keep doing it a little at a time. The book Atomic Habits by James Clear is a good place to learn about making positive changes to your life. Well, if you say, what if I'm so depressed and so anxious that I can't bring myself to do all of that? Well, this is clearly affecting your daily function, so counseling or a lifestyle modification might not be enough. This is when you need to consider going to the doctor. Usually in Brunei, it is the health centers where you will be assessed by a general practitioner. The doctor will determine the severity of your condition based on your history, physical examinations, and basic investigations like blood test and possibly an an electrocardiogram or an ECG, which measures the electrical activity of the heart. These are normal process of excluding physical causes of the mental health problems, because physical illness like abnormal thyroid function, low blood glucose level, deranged nutrients in the blood, all can cause problems with mood, thoughts, and cognition. The doctor will then discuss with you all the potential treatment plans. This may include simple measures like lifestyle modification, eat better, sleep better, exercise more, blah, blah, blah. Or talking therapy, or the other name for it is psychological therapy. First-line medications such as antidepressants can be considered, or a referral to a doctor that specializes in psychological diseases, known as psychiatrists, might also be part of the plan. To end this episode, I would like to remind everyone who is listening to this podcast that whatever you're going through, I feel and I know it feels like an endless rain. I know you're tired of people telling you to get over it and be happy and grab life by the throat. Oh, that's my favorite one. It is hard for them to understand how you feel because they have lived a different life, walked a different path, and have seen a different version of existence. Do not waste time trying to convince them. Whatever you say to them will be looked upon as an excuse to them. Focus on yourself, find yourself. However, if you really want people to at least have a glimpse of how it feels, may I suggest a simple analogy which applies very well to low mood or depression. When they say for you to snap out of it and be happy, ask them if they can stop the rain from falling. And ask them why are they expecting us to stop the falling rain. We are already standing in the cold, wet and scared, and they telling us to magically paint a bright blue sky with rainbows over our head. Tell them that you don't need a rainbow over your head. You need them to stand next to you, feel the rain and the cold you feel, and if they are kind enough to stand by your side until the rain stops, because it is damn lonely and terrifying to stand alone in the rain. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more contents. Thank you for listening. If there's any words or information that is wrong, I do apologize for that and will take that into consideration for future episodes.